how did the name Bharat come from and India come from? So India, very simply, around 400 to 450 BCE, Herodotus, the earliest reference we have, uh, Greek scholar Herodotus, first used the word India, Indica, and so forth. Um, it has a relationship. We all know, most people know that the seven big rivers in the northwest of a part of Indian subcontinent, and those rivers are they are used to be called Sapta Sindhu. And of course, Sindhu River, which is in English, they used to call Indus. And from this Sapta Sindhu, the Persians could not pronounce S, Sa. So they, in Bengali also, in Assamese and some other languages in India, Sa becomes Ha. So they called it Hafta Hindu. So Hindu name came from Indian origin, which is Sindhu, Indus, and there are places where they call India Indus, and even Chinese traveler Huan Sang also used Indu, INDU. So there is a link to our civilization, but uh, that is a little bit far. But the name Bharat is much more older. Now come to this idea of there's no one India, no one nation called Bharat Varsha, that notion. In order to know why that was the case, you need to know a little bit of biblical background. So Genesis, which is one of the most important biblical literature, it says, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth was without form and void and so forth. And then God, day one, it took 7 days for him to create the entire world. God said, let there be light, and there was light. On the seventh day, he finished his job. He was taking divine rest, and everything is done. So this is biblical sort of idea of how old this our world is. And based on this, some believers, James Ussher, who was the Archbishop of Ireland, he calculated the date. The date is wrong here, actually. The world was created in 7 days on 23rd October in it. I have 4404. It is actually 4004. 4004 before Christ. This is his assumption that about 4,000 years before Christ was the whole world was created by God. And based on that, William Jones, many of you know, he was a very well-known one of the earliest Indologists. And he also had this strong belief in Christianity and the Bible. So he says either the first 11 chapters of Genesis are true, or the whole fabric of our national religion, which is Christianity, is false. And then said, I am obliged, of course, to believe the sanctity of the venerable books to which that sacred person refers as genuine, that sacred person, that God. So now William Jones, who also propagated the idea of Aryan invasion, he also propagates the idea that we believe in the biblical story of creation. And that continued for over 2 centuries, and it is still there actually in belief, Christian believers. This is still, some people still believe in that. And then came Max Muller. Max Muller, again, it is his early incarnation. He said, I look upon the creation given in the Genesis as simply historical. Then Max Muller said that there's a great flood around 3000 BCE, and Jesus was born in the first year of the Common Era. So on one hand, 4000 BC, the world was created. There was a great flood in 3000 BC. So no civilization can be there before 3000 BC. So how old is any civilization? So this framework is used to figure out the age of the civilization of our country, Bharat. And then it causes this triple constraint. The world is created in 4004 BC. There's a great flood. and then Jesus is born in first century. And these are all beliefs. You cannot do much, but you have to now look at the science, and what science and archaeology talks about. That is where I want to start. But even before that, let's see uh, why this idea remained for so long. So when colonists were coming, they had to justify that they're coming to save these so-called heathens, uh, people of India, people of Africa, and other places. So they had to save people, and that's why they basically had to create these ideas to rule these countries. Um, so now they called people of non-believers, that means non-Christians, heathens. So one Charles Grant, a British guy, he has written a letter. It has the term Hinduism, and then of course Ramon Rai and even Sri Aurobindo and Vivekananda, they all had to use because of the time, because to communicate you have to come closer to what they understand. So they used, but the missionaries had a different game plan. Jain tradition, Buddha tradition, Sikh tradition, they were all part of the greater Sanatan Dharma, Hindu Dharma, and they divided them again. Until 1800s, late 1800s, there was no such thing as Jainism. It's Jain Dharma, Sikh Dharma, Sikh Panth, and same with Buddha. So they called them Buddhism, Sikhism, Jainism, Hinduism, and actually Islam was called Mohammedanism at some point. Now more people use it, and Judaism, except of Christianity, all were isms or some hypothetical ideas. So now question is, which is I'm ending it right now. So what is which identity of this country is important? India or Bharat? Which name should we be as Bhartis, Bhartiyas, Bharatas? What name should we use? I think you will have the answer. The moment you say my country is Bharat, Bharat Varsha, you immediately connect with the rishis of the Vedas, all the great people that lived for thousands and thousands of years. You feel that Gaurav inside you, that I belong to this nation, this country, this landmass, which has a tradition, a heritage, a civilization of thousands. So when you use the term India, does it evoke that feeling in you? In my opinion, probably not. So if I had to choose, I always try to use the word Bharat when I'm talking to people who are not from, who won't understand. But now I think what Prime Minister Modi ji and the current government is trying to do is put the name Bharata more than India, so that people know. So the moment they'll say, okay, why Bharat? Then they will try to understand our history. They will have a sense of history that, okay, yeah, this is a great civilization. That doesn't mean India is a bad name. India was given by some outside, like the Greeks started. So now that is the decision of people, what name they should be using, and it's people's choice. People may use Hindustan. That's fine. So I'll leave it there. Namaskar.